And welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to continue on as we scroll through the pages of the official biography of Andre the Giant. Now, Andre the Giant was a larger than life personality in literally every sense of the word. He was one of the most dynamic wrestlers, and not just wrestling, one of the most dynamic athletes of all time. Now, Andre was born with a form of gigantism. Obviously, with the growth hormones, he was a really big boy when he was born. About, what was it, like 11 pounds, 12 pounds, 13 pounds. So a big old baby. Andre, he was a French wrestler, born in 1946. And he started off relatively young. He started wrestling in the 1960s before he finally immigrated to the U.S. in the 1970s, where he would eventually find his staple with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and Vince Sr. Now, in the 70s, Vince Sr. kind of utilized him as this eighth wonder of the world, kind of like a carnival type of gimmick type of deal. And, he wrestled all over the U.S. He would go on to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he would actually spend a good chunk of his life in Japan wrestling as Andre the Giant. He would be part of the Machines tag team, both both in the U.S. as well as Japan, if I'm not mistaken. And that's actually where he ended his life. Well, not where he ended his life, but where he died, was wrestling over in Japan the last few years of his life, and that was, sad. You just know how much Andre the Giant meant to someone like Vince McMahon. I mean, how often do you see Vince McMahon shedding a tear for Andre the Giant? But that is exactly the type of man that Andre was, that even someone that's, I don't know if I want to call him Stone Cold, but Vince McMahon, you just know that if he's gonna bust out tears for a man like Andre, you know that he was something special. Andre, obviously, he's one of those guys that I grew up watching as a kid. And one of the first wrestling movies that I've ever seen, or not movies, but home movies, Coliseum home videos, were the 1987 Wrestlemania 3. And back as a kid, watching Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant do battle was probably one of the greatest matches of my life. And we'll just look at a little, here, read this little insert real quick for you guys, and we'll move forward with the commentary. Okay, so, and I talked about this in the past. As a kid, I absolutely loved it. I thought that matchup between Hogan and Andre was so spectacular. One of the highlights professionally of professional wrestling. And a couple years ago, I watched that match as a 37-year-old, 38-year-old, however old it was whenever I watched it. And it was sad because it was one of those matches that I remember being so spectacular. Ended up being one of the most boring matches I'd ever seen. Now, in the latter half of the 80s, obviously, Andre the Giant he was already had a lot of injuries, a lot of back problems, health-wise. He was degrading. So, it's just one of those things where you can't really blame Andre himself. I mean, when you're suffering for something like gigantism, it's only a matter of time. Matter of time before the health started to fail on him. And I'm going to try and rearrange the way that I'm sitting here, because I don't know, man. I got kind of like rug burn or something on my elbows last time I kind of filmed the video like this, so I still say it. I've said it through the Hogan biography. I've said it through Piper. I'm going to say it again with the Andre Biography. I know these booklets are mostly for the photographs. That's what pretty much everyone is mostly interested in seeing. I just wish that they were more than just black and white pictures. Really give you an idea of actually what's happening in the ring. But my experience watching Andre, because, you know, he was so big, we're talking, man, that's 7'4", 520, 525 pounds, what have you. You would think, okay, a man of this size, he is not the most agile or mobile person in the world. But go back, watch like early 1980s or 1970s matchups. Like, oh my God, this man was about as agile as any fit 6 foot, 200 pound, you know, superstar athlete. The way that he goes flying over the ropes, it's like watching Hogan in Japan. Hulk Hogan had a lot of technical moves while wrestling in Japan, but then you see him in the United States, and it's mostly punches, it's clotheslines, it's boot to the face, it's leg drop. But like, where is all the technique and the skill? And you just never saw that in the WWF. But you watch actual older footage of things like NWA or New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the man was fantastic. Watch older footage of Andre the Giant, and you will understand why he was such a coveted and beloved wrestler. You would think that a man that size could not move the way that he does, but he was absolutely sensational. So, another one of those little full-length posters. So I do like these right here. I like the fact that they're incorporating a lot more of these larger posters as opposed to these little small photographs that are, in hindsight, because they're so small, not really easy to make out. And what is this insert? One of the fiercest and most long-standing rivalries in professional wrestling exists between Andre the Giant and Big John Studd. Who can forget the infamous match when Studd took advantage of an unconscious Andre and cut off his hair? Andre certainly hasn't forgotten it, and the rivalry rages on. Here's the thing, in real life, Andre the Giant, when you hear all these podcasts and people talk about it, oh heck yeah, it's not just something that one person talked about, or maybe a couple people. Maybe one person told another person a story, and then that person tells the story to other people. No. There have probably been dozens, well, maybe dozens is a bit of an exaggeration, but there have been several names of people that have physically either heard, witnessed, or, you know, physically witnessed themselves that Andre the Giant did not like certain people. Big John Studd, he was one of those guys Andre the Giant just simply did not like. Why? Because Andre the Giant, he enjoyed being the man. He enjoyed being the big guy in the ring. He wanted to be the giant. He only wanted to be the only giant. In fact, I hear that Andre the Giant despised wrestling bigger guys or taller wrestlers because he didn't want someone that's 6'10", 7'1", etc., squaring off against him, because he wouldn't look as big of a wrestler if that were the case. So Big John Studd was like, what? I want to say 6'10", and Andre was probably 7'4", so a good 6-inch difference. I mean, 6 inches is a good size difference, but not like astronomically larger. And so Big John Studd, hovering around 7 darn feet, 300 plus pounds, he is not going to be going through the ropes. That's for someone probably nearly a foot shorter than he is, right? Or with about 6 inches to 12 inches shorter than him to go through the second and third rope. So he would come in and he would climb over the top rope. For a man his size, it made sense. But that used to irk Andre off to no end. And so when Andre would get his hands on Big John Studd, he would beat the snot out of him. And so during the course of the match, or whenever the match was over, freaking Big John Studd would hightail it out of the ring and go through the dressing room. And people would be stopping them like, what the hell's going on? Like, man, I'm going to get the hell out of here before this son of a bitch kills me. And it wasn't just Big John Studd, but stuff like that used to bother the heck out of them. But think about Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior was one of those guys. I don't know if it was like all the enthusiasm and all the hype that the Ultimate Warrior produced, or maybe because Ultimate Warrior, as I've said before, my second all-time favorite wrestler, just behind Hogan. I love watching Ultimate Warrior. Even as an adult, I've always enjoyed his matches. So I don't know where this talk that he was not a good performer or couldn't work the right way, but so based on all the people in the locker room, I think they all pretty much agree that Ultimate Warrior was not a good worker, not a good professional athlete. He would not know how to do holds or maneuvers, and that he would actually hurt the guys that he was doing that he was in the ring with. And so he would go in and he would do these clotheslines, and he was supposed to like knock Andre the Giant out, or knock him down, or maybe clothesline him, send him over the ropes or something. And Bobby Heenan had a fantastic podcast interview where he was talking about this exact same event. And one day Ultimate Warrior tried to play his game and tried to clothesline Andre so freaking hard, tried to take his head off. Andre puts his hand up, knocks him the hell out. Kyle looks at him like, you're not going to do that again now, are you? Sure enough, next time the Ultimate Warrior went for the darn clothesline. He wasn't going to try and hurt the big fella, not again. And I'm telling you, man, I absolutely love those stories. And I kind of feel like there's a million stories that you can tell about Andre the Giant, and there's really no other athlete, not even Hogan, has the type of stories that Andre the Giant could put together. Or Andre the Giant went, because his hands are so huge, you take a beer can, a regular sized beer can that pretty much fills up most people's hands, and it's like, I don't know, just like it fills up a very small part of Andre's hand. Like, you'd probably have to put like a 6-pack of cans in his hand to fill it up or something. So he would sit there, drink like 50 cans of beer, and not even get an ounce of dizziness or anything like that. Like, that would do nothing to him. And he would just pack beer after beer after a long drive. Wouldn't have to use the bathroom. Wouldn't get drunk or nothing. I'm like, that's insane. And God help you if you are out to dinner with Andre the Giant and you try to pay the bill. Andre's the man. He will always be the man in the ring, outside the ring. That bill is on him. And I love the fact that if you think about a movie like The Princess Diaries, talk about Roddy Piper and how he did like the Mario Brothers, did the TV series. That I want to say that was like a kids movie or anything like that, but I mean, I'm pretty sure Princess Diaries, was that what it's called? For whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank, but I'm pretty sure it was called Princess Diaries. For whatever reason, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like that's the title of the movie. The movie with Carrie Ells, and I'm gonna say Princess Diaries. You guys know what movie I'm talking about. I don't have to explain, but for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on the title. I kind of feel like that's one of those movies that would be attractive to young people, you know, especially young girls at that time, because it's like, here is your princess, and you know she's a pretty badass princess, and you got your I don't want to say goblins, but you got your little bad guys, and you've got your charming who's coming in to save the day type of deal. And I like the Zorro character. I mean, I haven't seen that movie since probably the late 80s, early 90s. Probably early 90s, so my recollection of that movie isn't exactly the greatest. But I know I've seen that movie probably a dozen times over the course of my life. Freaking Big John Studd. I'm just going page by page and just looking at how freaking Andre is just tearing into him. And you look at the way that he's gripping him, and you look at like the way that his head is that ain't fear, or that ain't fake right there. That's plain fear right there. Oh god, this is so freaking good. But yeah, freaking Big John Studd was a big one. Ultimate Warrior was a big one. Randy Savage. He didn't have the best relationship with Randy Savage either. I'm trying to think some of the other superstars. I wonder if it was Owen Hart. I think it was Bret Hart that was telling this story, where Owen was trying to get Andre to the freaking airport before he missed his flight. And this man was just hauling ass. And by the time he got to the airport, he was just running everything over, popping up on top of the curb and everything. And by the time Andre got the darn back seat, oh, he was about to rip his freaking head off. But shooting on Andre the Giant, all of those different podcasts that you hear and biographies and stuff that you hear about Andre the Giant, man, he's got some of the most unique, most interesting, and just most fun stories. You talk about people that you would just love to be able to meet in person. I don't know, with the thick French accent, I don't know how much of a conversation you could have with the man, but I don't care. It's freaking Andre the Giant, man. It's a freaking legend. Uh-oh, here comes Jimmy. Did I ever see this match? Because I kind of feel like I remember this part where Jimmy jumps off of Andre's shoulders. Who are they facing off? Nope, that doesn't say. Let's see what they say here. The very name Big John Studd can send a man sometimes known as the gentle giant into fits of rage. Yeah, pretty much. Bobby the Brain Heenan, Studd's manager and fellow Andre hater. So Bobby insisted on getting into some of the action himself, and it was a big mistake. Yeah, I'd say so. 1988, when Andre the Giant finally defeated Hogan. Obviously, he lost to Hogan at WrestleMania 3, but a year later, they came back, and it was a first of something. I think it was it Saturday Night's Main Event or something like that? It wasn't a pay-per-view, if I recall correctly. I think it was just a regular weekend episode. But I want to say the main event, like Saturday's main event or something. And he defeated Hulk Hogan. His first and only heavyweight championship. And for a storied career like Andre the Giant, how did it take that long for this man ever to be crowned champion? And he basically, quote, sells it to Ted DiBiase, and the championship becomes vacant. So that was just complete horse crap. I hated that. That's got to be freaking Bobby Heenan right there, right? I saw one of those matches where Bobby Heenan was kind of decked out in all black, dressed like Andre the Giant, but yep, Bobby Heenan. I was too young, or hell, I probably wasn't even born yet when the whole Andre the Giant haircut scene happened. But Bobby Heenan versus Andre the Giant, I don't remember this. There are none so blind as those will not see. One thing I'm noticing flipping through these pages is majority of this is basically Andre versus Stud. So I guess in 85, that's really all there was to it, was the two giants going at it most of the time. And I kind of understand why Andre the Giant really couldn't win a lot of championships. And it's a reason why a lot of... You couldn't give guys like Jorge Gonzalez a championship, right? I mean, I think the Great Khali... again, he came in way after I stopped watching wrestling, right? But I'm familiar with the name. I think he made it. I think he was a champion, but guys like that really can't be long-term champions. They might be champion for like a day or a week or a month or something, but their size makes it questionable. They're not the biggest draws. Even though, yes, Andre the Giant, probably one of the biggest draws ever. Maybe just behind Hogan, possibly, but everybody wants to see Andre. I don't think it's so much a fact that it was a drawing. I think it was more about the fact that, A, you can't fit the darn belt around his waist. I think that was an issue. Okay, wear it around the shoulder. Got it. I don't know. I really can't fathom a reason why Andre the Giant couldn't have won some kind of championships a lot earlier. I mean, think about this. Yokozuna had 2 heavyweight championships, right? Much, much larger than Andre, as far as girth. Later on, he was a multiple-time tag team champion with Owen Hart. Why couldn't Andre the Giant have had something very similar, right? Been a tag team champion with, a type of high flyer like that of Owen Hart. So this magazine, or this booklet, has a lot of, I don't know what you call these, pinups, where these take up multiple pages. I think just like a year later, who was it? I think my buddy Mark. I think he was one that was telling me about the machines, because I think he made a giant machine figure, and I had never heard of the machines before, and I was very unfamiliar, and I had to do a little bit of research right after he kind of explained it. And again, in 1986, what they did is have like all of these superstars, like Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan and George Steele. They all became part of this machine tag team or whatnot. But the machines, you had Andre the Giant as the Giant Machine, and you had Blackjack Mulligan as the Big Machine, and Super Machine was Bill Eadie, who of course is Demolition Axe. And so you took these guys and they put masks on them, and all the fans knew who they were. And it was supposed to be like this big deal that the heels of the World Wrestling Federation couldn't figure out who they were, or if they did know who they were, they couldn't prove it or something. And I think there's also talk about someone, maybe Andre possibly, that they were on suspension or something, and this was like a way to get them to still be able to wrestle professionally. Excuse me. So, Andre the Giant, I mean, as a kid, and to this day, the blackstrap Andre, that's always going to be the Andre the Giant that I'm familiar with. But Andre the Giant in blue, Andre the Giant in red, or maroon purple, or yellow trunks. This man was just everything, and he was just all over the place, all over the world, wrestled everywhere. It was just 25 minutes. You know what's funny? I think if I had more pages to scroll through, I probably could have had a whole lot more stories to tell in this video, but almost 30 minutes and the booklet is complete, so I think I am going to stop here. Hopefully this was a good one for you guys and you enjoyed this one overall. So that is it for the 3 biographies that were released in 1985 by Titan Sports and the WWF. From this point forward, I have decided I will go back and kind of do, scrolling through the pages of WWF the magazine. I don't have every single magazine every month of every year, but I will at least go through the ones I do have. And that's probably several dozen magazines between 1984 and probably 1996. So we got a good 12-year period or so to scroll through. And like I said, I've never seen any of these magazines. I've looked at the covers. I've never opened them up and went through the pages, so I don't know what we're going to be seeing. More than likely, probably not going to be reading off anything major. I might read off a little news, little clip here or there, or maybe a title, but the way that I presented these booklets are probably going to be how I do the magazines as well. Well, guys, that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.